And we are now live. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hello. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for attending and welcome to a day in the life of a work from home Pythonista. We are your hosts, Allison,
And yep, I am Ryan.
and we are both members of Python Philippines Board of Trustees. So for this episode, we have a special guest co-host, Aaron Lee. So Aaron is a co-founder and the CTO of Swarm, where he connects top builders to high-value startup projects. In his downtime, before the pandemic, he drives and rides around the Philippines to recharge. Hi, Aaron. Thank you so much for supporting Python PH and for being with us today.
Aaron, do you have something to say before we
Oh,
start?
I think Aaron is not yet a co-host, so he can't share his
Oh,
video.
okay. Let me work on it. Okay. Um,
All right,
right.
I think you can share your video now.
Sorry about that.
Hi. Hey guys.
There you
Happy to
go.
be here.
Hello.
We have a couple of very interesting speakers today, and we're very happy to have sponsored Python PH. Yeah, very
Yes,
exciting.
definitely. Thank you so much.
All right. So yep. Well, let's do this first. What is a day in the life of the work from home Pythonista? So it's a monthly virtual webinar talk show series where we interview Pythonistas representing various roles. So developer, CTO, data scientist, QA, network engineer, educator, students, and many more. And this is to give people in the community an insight of what the typical workday looks like for these various roles. And hopefully, this would also serve us a inspiration and give us a sense of community, especially for the who are working from home and studying from home.
Yeah, and in fact, this is a very special and exciting episode because our theme is makers and problem solvers, and we'll be interviewing two Pythonistas. So one is a student and a tech enthusiast, and the other one is a technical consultant and educator, and is also the co-founder and ex-CTO of Insync.
Okay, one interesting guest today. All right. So before I start, let's set up the film first. So what will be the format of our webinar? So first, we'll be having a virtual tour of our speakers' work area at home and his or her tools. And after that, we're going to have the Q&A portion where we, the host, and will ask some questions, and also we'll get some questions also from our audience from YouTube and also from Zoom.
All right. So before we start, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Swarm, for making this show possible. They're a very, very strong supporter of communities. And for those who don't know, Swarm is the main supporter of the year for Python PH. Their sponsorship allows us, Python PH, as a nonprofit, to continue to support and facilitate the growth of the community of Python programmers in the Philippines. Okay, so before we start the interview, I would like to call on Romel to let us know about our code of conduct.
Hello everyone. I'm here to remind everyone about our code of conduct that we value the participation of each member of the community and want all members to have an enjoyable and fulfilling experience. Accordingly, all members are expected to show respect and courtesy to other members at all Python PH events. If you notice that a participant engages in harassing behavior, the webinar organizer may take any action they deem appropriate, including warning the offender and expulsion from the event. If you believe that someone is violating the code of conduct or have any concerns, please contact a member of the Python PH Code of Conduct Work Group immediately. We can be reached by emailing board@python.ph. Thank you. So back to you, Ryan.
All right, thank you for that, Ramal. So yeah, we can start. I'll introduce our first speaker for the day, or our first guest. And our guest for the day is Almond or Mona Obedoza. So Mona is an avid tech enthusiast and an advocate of teaching kids on how to code at an early stage. Middle school student Mona Obedoza enjoys imagining the many possibilities of our world's future and how technology can possibly shape the lives of those around her. However, when she isn't participating in hackathons, delivering speeches at the conference, or hosting programming workshops for kids, she can be often be found curled up in a book while listening to Japanese music, or experimenting with her laptop setting while desperately hoping that it won't suddenly crash. You can learn about her at Sunshine Bunny Software Tech. Hi, Mona.
Hi, Mona.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen.
All right.
Yeah.
Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Well, hi everyone. So my name is Mona Obedoza, and today I'm going to talk about what a typical day looks like for me in this time of pandemic, as well as some of my current projects and how you can get started with learning coding and computer science. So this is my room, or well, it's a digital depiction of my room, and I'm going to show you my actual room later. And this is what my schedule looks like. So since I go to an international school with kids from around the world, my classes usually last until around 8 or 9 in the morning, and then I hang out with my friends until around 10 a.m. And I spend the late morning and the early afternoon doing my homework, and I spend late afternoon working on my extracurriculars. So I find that during this that in the online setup, it's particularly difficult to manage your time because of how many distractions there are online. And so here I have some tips. So for one thing, to avoid distractions, I found that it really helps to use a separate email account or browser window for work. So let me show you what I mean. So over here, you see this little icon at the top. To make a separate account, you can just click add, and then it will automatically create a new window. And then you can close this one in order to avoid distractions such as social media. And okay, so back to the slide. I've also found that when faced with a lot of work, when I feel particularly overwhelmed, it helps to break it down into small, manageable parts, just like when programming. And this helps you accomplish the third tip also, which is to eat well and sleep. I found that it really helps to have a clear mind whenever you work, since this also improves the quality of what you write down. Now, in order to be able to do this, here are some tools for time management. And of course, everyone has their own ways of managing time. Some people use Excel, some people write in a whiteboard. I find it easiest to, well, first of all, I organize my Google tabs in order of when I plan to work on certain things. So, for example, these are all of my assignments, and then I'm going to do this one first, so I keep it at the start. And whenever I finish a task, I'm able to close it. I'm able to close the tab, and it fills me with a sense of relief when I start closing Google tabs, like checking off items in the checklist. I also really like using Windows Sticky Notes. So that's a built-in program on Windows where, well, basically, whenever you turn on your computer, it appears, so you don't have to remember to turn it on. And the way I organize it is like this. I show different days of the week, and I organize my tasks accordingly depending on their due date. So I only have one or two things to do each day. Now, let me show you around my physical workspace. So since I don't have an actual webcam, I'm going to use this. It's basically an AI camera, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's a Python window. So this is the code for it, and now I'm going to run it. Just waiting for it to load. Okay, so over here. So this is a view of my room, and you can see the coordinates. So that's what depth AI is all about. It's able to find the X, Y, and Z coordinates of certain objects that you can find, so that using artificial intelligence, you can detect the location of an object. So over here, you can see my bookshelf. So I use it for some certificates and trophies, and I also use it to keep my anime stuff. And here's a desk that, well, it used to be a desk, but I converted it into a kind of shelf for my school supplies. So over here, I have my stationery like pens, sharpies, highlighters, and up here I have things like school books and some notebooks, more school books, and on that shelf over there, that's where I keep my robotic stuff. So that purple box over there is my Lego Mindstorms kit, and I also have a little R2D2 robot over there, if you can see it. And that's what my room looks like. So anyway, now you might be wondering, what exactly am I doing here? So in order to answer that question, let's rewind a little bit to how I learned how to code. So I started with simple block-based programming languages such as Lazy Dino, which is basically a program where you use logic to determine the movement of a dinosaur. And then after that, I was able to move on to Thinker, which is kind of like a simpler version of Scratch. From there, of course, I was able to move on to Scratch and then to Lego Robotics. And finally, I learned Python, which is my first text-based programming language. It was really simple and easy to learn for me, so because of that, it really helped me when I started moving on to other languages such as JavaScript, C Sharp, Java, App Inventor, and Arduino. But even knowing all of these languages, I still tend to go back to Python a lot because of how many libraries and features it has, many of which I haven't really discovered yet. So, for example, there's MicroPython, which is for robotics like Lego and Arduino. There's machine learning, which I usually connect to Google Cloud, and I also learn data visualization through Kaggle and Pandas. So allow me to show you one of my recent Python projects where I combine all of these concepts. So this one is Project SAR. So in essence, it's a fleet of AI drones used for disaster detection and recovery. So I use Python to connect to Google Cloud and train a model with pictures of floods and pictures of fires, and also pictures of different types of structural damage in the aftermath of an earthquake. And so using Python and using MicroPython, I was able to connect it to Lego EV3 to make these robots. And using a webcam, it was able to take pictures and compare it against the AI model to detect types of disasters. And it also used facial detection with OpenCV to print out a file that that basically over here. So it shows the type of disaster and the number of people in the picture, so the number of victims that need help. And so that's one of my recent projects. So another project that I've been working on recently, is the Purposeful Mochi, which is mobilizing tributes to harness information and innovation, which is basically data science and artificial intelligence workshops for kids. And someday I hope that schools in the Philippines can start teaching coding at the elementary and high school levels. After all, it would be really awesome to have a Python class in high school. And with all the uncertainties and challenges in the world today, I believe it's important to develop kids to be problem solvers and to use all the resources that they have, including technology, to improve the world we live in. But until this becomes a reality, my friends and I want to give back in our own way by starting the Purposeful Mochi project. So this is a continuation of Pixel Pixies, where in the past year I've hosted coding workshops to teach kids how to code. The Purposeful Mochi intends to mobilize shippies to harness information and innovation for good by creating a community of kids who will learn more about coding, data science, and machine learning to solve real-world problems. My coding journey has been truly awesome. I've experienced so many things through so many people, and the most memorable so far were my tour of the Google office at New York City, ID Tech Summer Camp at New York University, and first Lego League Junior Open at Nagoya, Japan. And recently, my robotics team and I represented the Philippines at the first Lego League competition in Greece held earlier this year. I really want to help other kids start their own coding journey, but to do that, I need your help. I hope you can take the time to like and share the Purposeful Mochi with your kids, nephews, nieces, and friends. It would be really great if you could volunteer to host a coding workshop for kids by registering on our forum as well, which you can find by checking out the Facebook page over here. And finally, Thank you so much to Python Philippines for inviting me here today. 2 years ago, you allowed a 10-year-old girl to attend and speak at PyCon Asia 2019. The people I met and the things I've learned at that tech conference gave me the confidence to take on more exciting opportunities in the world of technology. I hope you can continue to inspire other people, especially kids like me, to follow the same path and to discover technology as a tool for good that can change the world for the better. So, thank you, everyone.
All right. So that was so awesome, Mona. Actually,
Yes, that's a lot.
medyo data overload nga ako kasi parang ang daming
Yeah.
project, di ba? But that's really,
Yeah.
really amazing.
Yeah. How do you manage that? That's a lot.
Parang ano, no? Parang 48 hours yung one day ni Mona.
Yeah.
All right. So, I remember you talking dun sa PyCon APAC 2019. You talked about the hot potato, di ba?
Yes, I put the circuit inside an egg in order to make a hot potato game.
Wow, that's amazing. And isa sa mga pinaka na-emphasize for me during yung sa slides mo was the purposeful mochi. So, ang cute lang nung, ano yung meaning nga nun? Mobilizing chibis.
Mobilizing chippies to harness information and innovation.
Wow. So, parang ang catchy niya and at the same time, it's a really, really good initiative. So with that, gusto ko lang malaman, ano yung thought process mo when you try to think of a project or an initiative? Parang paano yung nagiging thought process mo or ano yung inspiration mo?
Well, usually it depends. With some of my projects like SAR, I tend to join competitions and follow the prompt there. So, like with SAR, I joined the first Lego League, and the topic I think was something like smart cities, and so that got me thinking about different problems that I see in the world, and then that got me thinking of the concept of using drones, and then from there I was able to do research to find out that I could use Python and figure out how to connect it to artificial intelligence. And as for the purposeful mochi, my thought process there was that, well, in the school I came from, I guess I was disappointed because there weren't really a lot of coding in classes, and like I didn't really learn coding until high school, and so I looked it up, and not a lot of schools really do teach coding at the elementary level or at high school level, and so that's why I figured that it would be really nice to help other kids discover coding, even if it's not taught at schools.
Wow. So
You really love
actually,
coding.
yeah, so yung way that you describe how you think as a maker, parang ano lang siya, no? Sobrang straightforward, pero in fact, kung hihimayin natin, that's a really good thing kasi parang yung brainstorming comes to you easily, parang, not easily, naturally. So parang yung pagbe-brainstorm, ito yung first idea mo, and then nanganak siya na ito yung next, ito yung next, ito yung sumunod. So that's really amazing. And to think na yung projects mo ay hindi lang related sa technology, but at the same time, they're very creative, and also nagtithink ka din ng initiatives that would help children like you. Yun. So,
In terms
okay,
of
so we're
projects,
actually
yeah.
getting questions from YouTube and Zoom. So Ryan, or do you have any questions, Ryan or Aaron?
Yeah. First, regarding the projects, so ang dami mong projects, so na-overload ako kayo na. So ano yung most proud of Python project na ginawa mo recently?
Well, the Python project that I'm most proud of is SAR, because actually that's my inspiration for deciding that something I want to work in the field of artificial intelligence and data science. It was my first introduction to artificial intelligence, and one of my first introductions, and it's how I got accustomed to using Google Cloud and connecting Python to it, and also working with AI cameras. And it was just super cool to me, the concept of artificial intelligence, and it really helped me learn a lot. So that's really one of my favorite projects.
Nice. Interesting. Aaron, do you have any questions?
Very cool. Actually, what I wanted to ask was like, what can we do, right, to help improve how programming and computer science is taught in the Philippines, for example, or in general, I guess? Because we see you doing this, and we feel very inspired. We feel very happy. To be honest, I'm personally very happy. You not being content with how it's being taught, and you doing it by yourself, right? trying to do it by yourself, but what can we do who's already part of, for example, Python PH, right? Or the greater Philippine, programming community, right? What can we do to maybe help this out?
Something that you can do is to help hold workshops for kids who are interested in coding and to have more opportunities for them because it's really difficult to find opportunities to learn how to code to learn how to code and to participate in competitions and meet other kids who are into the same kind of thing. So it really matters to start a community. Another thing that would have discouraged me is that not a lot of other kids share the same interests, so it was difficult to find people to talk about this with at my age. So it should really help to start a community and to hold events and opportunities for kids who are interested in tech. And also, as part of the Purposeful Mochi, I'm actually looking for people to help host workshops, to teach kids about coding and data science, especially in Python. So I can actually send the form, and if you'd like to join and help out, then yeah, you can fill that out.
Oh, yes, definitely. So we're really interested in helping you out in sa Purposeful Mochi. So we'll be more than happy to help out. Make sure to send the form. Ayan. So even dun sa chat natin, may mga participants tayo like Bash na he says na willing din daw siya mag-volunteer. So that's really good. I guess you can send us the form, tapos later on we can share it dun sa Python PH na page and group.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I think we can get some questions dun sa YouTube and Zoom natin, right?
Okay. Wait, actually may isang question ako na I was actually curious when you started your presentation. So you mentioned na you are studying sa foreign na school. So yung classes mo hindi siya yung normal hours here in the Philippines. Paano yung nagiging time management mo doon? Hindi ba mahirap na parang yung sleep mo off siya dun sa usual na hours na natutulog yung mga tao?
Well, actually, as part of that school, since there are lots of kids a lot of students who are also from different countries, there are actually different options for the time zones. So it's a little bit weird because I have classes at night and I have classes in the morning, but it's manageable because I don't really have any particular classes at odd hours. So usually I just have a few classes. So I have a couple of classes in the morning. I have one class at around 9 o'clock, and then I do all of my homework in the afternoon.
All right. Sana all okay yung time management.
Yeah, and discipline, right? Sa time management. So kailangan yun.
I think we have questions coming from YouTube. Ryan?
Yep. Actually related dun sa discipline. Yeah, quite related. Question from Shara Bautista. So quite related to the question of regarding discipline with the schedule. Do you use any productivity app or do you practice by this time? So
I don't use any particular productivity app. I found that it's easier to use built-in things, so I don't, because when I use very specific apps, it's hard for me to remember to open them sometimes, and so that's why I use sticky notes, so that whenever I turn on my computer, it's already there. And I also like organizing my Google Tabs.
sticky pads, yeah. Sticky notes, so I think that's really useful. It's already there.
And so I have another question from dito naman sa Zoom. So this one is from Bash. What do you do if you get stuck in a problem?
Well, usually if I get stuck in a problem, I take a break and I eat chocolate, and then I think about it for a little while. Like usually I try to understand the problem. And when I get particularly stuck, I just go at it. Instead of thinking about it too hard, I just start trying to solve it. And then I see where that gets me. And from there, I'm able to come up with new ideas for how to better solve it.
Gusto ko yung na yun. Sige, tatry ko din. Kakain muna ako ng chocolates when I'm stuck in a problem. Ayun, may follow-up questions eh. Okay, Aaron.
Sorry, we need to know. What kind of chocolate is it?
Well, usually it varies. Sometimes I have Chocomallows, sometimes I have Kit Kats, also Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and Hershey's Chocolate.
Sounds really good.
Yes.
So
we have shopping now on chocolates.
Oo nga eh. And sakto yung binanggit niya pala, yung KitKat and Hershey's, di ba ang dami nilang different flavors. And I
Mhm.
think sa Japan, ang dami nilang flavors na exclusive lang dun sa per region, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that before, like green tea Kit Kats or strawberry Kit Kats.
Yeah. My favorite flavor
Yeah.
ka ba?
I just like the chocolate ones.
Okay, classic.
Yeah.
All right, so we have another one
Right.
here from Carl Jan Vinas. Do you have a specific age group or grade level target for your The Purposeful Mochi? I find your motivation really interesting, and I'm also glad to volunteer for this.
First of all, thank you so much. And second, well, I suppose my target age group would be around 7 years old above, so like around elementary and high school students.
All right, so I guess actually maraming questions coming from YouTube right now. So Ryan, can you pick one for us?
Yeah, actually, iba kasi nasasagot niya na doon sa mga question niya kanina, sa
Yeah,
mga
yeah.
answer niya kanina. So, nagpipick na lang ako ng question. Trick or treat? Okay, discipline, chocolate. I don't know if na-question natin ito kanina, yung pag-manage ng body clock. Kasi nga, iba yung schedule niya kanina, right? So, I think nasagot na rin ito kanina nung tinanong ni Alison sa productivity. And, yep, just waiting for another questions.
We have one from Sony actually. How do you handle frustrating programming bugs? It's something a lot of programmers are always having trouble with. I guess this is similar dun sa pag when you're stuck in a problem, no, you eat chocolate. So do you have any other things that you do specifically when you're handling frustrating bugs?
Well, usually I search it up online. I go to Stack Overflow and I check for solutions there. And I also usually comment out different parts of my code and try to see which part of it is causing the problem. And then once I've isolated that, I'm able to look at that particular line of code and figure out what's wrong.
So sa group of friends mo ba, parang do you share the same interests and very passionate din ba sila about tech?
I have a lot of different friends. Some of them we just like talking about anime or books or other subjects. But I also have my friends among my robotics team, and those are the people I usually talk about coding with, since we collaborate a lot on robotics projects, and so we usually usually those are the people I talk to when I'm coding. But sometimes I also bother my regular friends when I have a bug in my code. Like I use them as idea walls and tell them, oh my gosh, I have a bug in my code. Oh, I can't figure. It says something like this, and I'm not sure what to do. When they like have, and they just kind of listen to me, and I usually just rant for a little while until eventually it comes to me.
All right, so I think it's really good that you have a very varied na set of friends. And kasi ini-imagine ko lang actually kasi I rarely actually isa ka dun sa parang ilan lang kayo na kids na alam ko na na-expose na talaga sa tech at a very young age. So I'm trying to imagine what it's like, especially since, for example, when I was younger, personally, hindi ako sobrang passionate about tech nung bata pa ako. Parang I just play games and whatever. So ini-imagine ko parang paano nagwo-work yun? Like when you want to do a project, di ba? So yeah, I guess that's really, really cool. In connection dyan, so may question din pala si Carl Jan Vinas again. So where do you think your passion for coding started? Like what was the stimuli or event that happened that made you think that you wanted to do this repeatedly, even at your childhood, which is in a way quite uncommon?
Well, like I said, it started when I graduated from Hinder, and my mom, who's a software engineer, showed me an app where basically you program the movements of a dinosaur, and so it was a logic game, and that really fascinated me, and I actually finished the whole thing in one night because it was just so interesting to me, and because of that, I was able to move more easily to other to programming languages. I decided to try out Tinker, and then I was able to try Scratch, and from there I also used books to help helped me learn how to code, and I also found that it was really interesting to try to experiment with the code. Like I didn't just follow the books. I also tried playing around with it, trying to see what would happen, and that was really fun for me. And also trying to experiment with the settings of my laptops and phone and other devices. And yeah, basically, I found out that I really enjoyed working with technology, and I wanted to do it a lot more often.
Oh,
Wow,
that's so
okay.
interesting.
So,
Yeah.
I think it really plays, yung parents and the environment kung saan tayo na-expose really plays a big part, no? Dun sa parang nagiging interest natin. So, I think hands off din sa parents mo for exposing you dun sa mga bagay na yun kasi it really fostered your interest in technology.
In regards to that, ano yung parang maging advice mo dun sa mga ibang kids na gusto matuto ng programming?
Well, first of all, if you want to start to get into coding, then it really helps to use books and to use online resources, and also of course you're free to join the Purposeful Mochi. And other than that, well, my advice for you is to believe in yourself and to never give up. Like sometimes you might be experiencing particularly frustrating bugs in your code, or you might be stuck on a particular problem, and that's okay. Just keep trying to get through it, and eventually, I don't know, it's just really rewarding when you finally get your code to work, and it's really also rewarding types of places you get to go to when you learn how to code. So just keep at it and don't give up.
All right.
Interesting,
So,
Kasi medyo nakarelate ako nun eh. Kasi parang yun yung part na gusto din sa programming. I mean, yung cycle of emotions na excited ka mag-work na sa isang bagay. Then, time na mapoprostrate ka na. Then, nandiyan na yung aha moment. So, sobrang fulfilling yun na. So,
totoo.
cycle lang siya, diba? So, yeah.
Yeah, especially parang pag nag-start ka ng project, masaya ka pa kasi okay, nagwo-work. Tapos kapag hindi na nagwo-work, ano ba yan? Ba't hindi na nagwo-work?
Yung pag nandiyan na siya, na-release na, wow, okay. So proud.
Yeah.
Do you have any more
How about,
questions?
sige, so si Aaron, do you have other questions for Mona?
No, not right now.
Okay. Actually, we have here one question. So, ito medyo parang conceptual question naman siya. So, what's your dream for the future of technology?
My dream for the future of technology. Well, in the future, I hope. Well, a lot of people are currently complaining about technology and about how it has negative effects, but I hope that this will change someday, and I hope that the new generation will learn how to use technology in a way that benefits everyone, in a way that's good. And which is why it's also so important to teach kids how to code at an early age and how to use technology for good, because that's what our future is going to be like. Those are the kinds of things, those are the kinds of innovations that are going to shape our future. And I really hope that technology can be more positive for everyone, and that it can really help a lot of people and solve a lot of problems in the future.
Yeah, so actually, I really agree with that. And I just want to emphasize how you mentioned tech for good. Kasi usually, di ba, when we get involved with tech, we don't really think about the ethical implications, like good ba siya or bad. So I'm really amazed that you're thinking about that and you wanted to use tech for good.
Yeah.
We have a question here from Matt Thomas. So, hey Mona, can you recommend some robotic kits for someone interested in starting out? Any particular programming language?
Well, the robotics kits I started with are Lego WeDo, and then from there I moved on to NXT and EV3. And I think there's also this new thing, and I think there are also new Lego robotics kits. So yeah, I'd suggest to start with Lego robotics. And for programming languages, of course, I'd say to start with Python. To start with Python as a text-based programming language, because it's really easy to learn, and it also has so many different features, and it also makes it easier to learn other text-based programming languages. But if you're a young kid, then of course it helps to start with a block-based programming language like Scratch or Thinker, so that you get used to the logic of it before you start working with text-based programming languages and memorizing functions and that kind of thing.
All right. So, I guess yun, ang daming resources nun. So, thank you so much, Mona. And so, time check lang. I think we just have time for one more question. And so let's just check for the questions here.
YouTube, there's none so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess natanong na din siya here. Wait lang. Ayan. So, I guess finally na lang, do you have any announcements or things that you'd like to share that you think will help or inspire, or any advice in general para dun sa lahat ng viewers natin right now?
Well, of course, I already shared the purpose emoji, and other than that, my advice in general, would be to, like I said, in my advice for kids, never give up, no matter how hard things get. Not just with programming, but also with life in general. Whenever you encounter a problem, be it because of the pandemic or because of something else, just keep going and never give up. And eventually you'll find yourself, somewhere happier, like how when you solve a problem in coding. And yeah, always look on the bright side.
All right.
Very
So,
positive.
oo nga eh. Very, very
Yeah.
positive tayo. Sunshine talaga, no?
Yeah.
All right. So, thank you so much, Mona. That's very, very inspiring, and sobrang dami namin nakuhang insights. Ayan. So, thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
inviting me.
Thank you. And I guess, yeah, that's all we have for our interview with our first guest. And again, super thank you, Mona, for this opportunity. And yeah, we learned a lot from you, actually. And you inspired us. So, yeah.
Thank you. I had fun.
All right.
All right.
So, before we start, with the second interview, so we'd like to announce that we actually have a coding challenge at the end of this, and we'll be giving away 2 tickets to PyCon APAC 2021 this November. So we'll announce the mechanics at the end. Ayan. So pakiabangan.
Yeah. Abangan.
Okay. So
Right.
our second guest for today is Marte Soliza. So Marte is the co-founder and ex-CTO of Insync. He has more than a decade of experience in Python, and his favorite part about the language is how you can adjust the level of abstraction you use depending on your purpose. He is currently a consultant at talaksan.com, trying to solve different problems for different people. He's also helping improve computer science education in the country through the National Olympiad in Informatics, and he misses traveling and rock climbing outdoors. Yan. So, hi, Marte.
Hello. Hello, guys. Glad to be here.
Yun.
Yeah. Mona is very inspiring.
Oo nga eh. Ang daming insight. Parang bigla
Yeah.
talaga ako naging positive person. Char.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah.
All right. So, I guess you can start with yung sa slides mo, Marte.
Okay, sige. Share to screen ko. Sorry. Tawag dun sa okay. So yun. Kita ba? Okay. So, pakita ko lang yung work from home setup ko and some other stuff like tools na ginagamit ko and how I work, how I try to work effectively. So, una yung office. So, meron akong minimal office lang. Konti lang yung nandyan, like may table lang and may keyboard, may stuff. Yung mga, prefer ko kasi, uncluttered din. And then, meron akong UPS kasi minsan may mga times na may short burst of brownout. So, it helps na meron ganun. Tapos, own room siya. So, parang ako lang yung nandito sa sort of office. So, parang na-emulate pa din niya yung parang parang isolation or yung mas isolate mo yung personal stuff and yung work stuff. Tapos, sunod naman is yung software tools. Ito yung majority na software tools na ginagamit ko. For editing, VS Code, Visual Studio Code yung gamit ko. And then, I've gone through different editors. Like, nag-Vim ako, Sublime Text, and even Emacs. And then, I settled into VS Code kasi yun sa integration niya for yung extension system niya. Sobrang comprehensive. So, especially now na you're not just working on one tool, ang dami ng integration na kailangan mong gawin. So, it helps na yung editor mo parang kaya, dahil din sa ecosystem niya, kaya madalas may support siya, may good support siya sa, for example, ibang programming language or sa ibang tool, like for example, Docker or for example, pwede kang mag-edit dun sa other machines and yung mga ganong klaseng stuff kasi yun very very comprehensive, halos lahat nandun. So for documentation naman, easy access to documentation, I use Dash. And for browsing and for working and all the other stuff, Google Chrome. So what I do, instead of having separate profiles, kasi may issue sa akin yung separate profiles. So what I do is actually have a different process for my work. For example, I'm not sure if you can see the other windows that I use. But yeah, there's this. I actually have a different. Mas madali kasi mag-switch case, at least in my case, mas madali mag-switch in Mac using a separate process case, separate window. Kasi halimbawa dito may multiple windows din ako. Then dito may mga iba-iba akong stuff na for personal. So kapag mag-switch ako, tapos may personal and work ka, parang mag-go through ka pa sa iba-ibang windows para mapunta ka sa work stuff. So para ma-isolate talaga sila, then I do this instead of using profile. But that's just my preference. Anything can work naman. Na-prefer ko lang yung separate process. And then I use Roam for notes taking, Roam research. If you can actually, yeah, you can check it out. And then Toggle for time tracking. So I use Toggle for I track my time for almost for most of the tasks that I do, kahit personal, kahit work. Then maganda din siya kasi pwede niyang makita yung if you enable it, it can check yung it can automatically follow yung like kung saan mo ini-spend yung time mo. Madaming software for that, but Toggle can also do that. So later, pwede mo ma-review, ito pala yung ginawa ko dito. Tapos yung specific tabs or specific windows na nakafocus ka at the time, pwede niyang ma-check yun. So yun. Sunod naman is about working. Very important yung focus sa line of work natin, which we use our mind a lot. It's very important to be able to focus. So, and focus is nadi-disrupt with context switching. So, to be able to have not context switch a lot, minimize yung notifications. For example, sa phone ko, I use the downtime or more recently sa iOS 15 meron silang focus mode. So sa downtime, parang pwede niyang during a specific window of time, mami-minimize niya yung notifications and yung actual apps na allowed. So for example, minsan kasi may tendency ka lang na kapag pagod ka or something, para may kusa kang reflex na check mo yung phone, tapos tingin ka sa mga apps, sa mga messages. So with this, sort of mafo-force ka or magiging mas aware ka na, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. So check nyo yun kung halimbawa may iOS kayo. I'm sure Android also has that. I'm just not sure about the third that they use. Pero yun, minimize yung notification nyo. For example, sa Slack din, I don't usually just sa browser, sa browser kasi ako gumagamit ng Slack, and then I don't enable notifications from Slack kasi minsan it can get parang nag-work ka, then you'll be notified, then madi-distract ka. So yung mga ganung klaseng notifications, unless it's important, may mga minsan kasi, di ba, hindi maiwasan na kailangan madali kang mag-reply. So, it depends din. Pero maganda kung may block of time ka or times during the day na focus ka lang sa work, sa coding, gano'n. Tapos, have a routine. Having a routine really helps kasi minsan, ang problema, kapag motivated ka, parang, madali lang yun, madali lang mag-focus. But, you're not always like that, di ba? Minsan may mga off days or may mga times na yun, hindi ka ganun ka motivated or engaged, but you still need to do the things that you have to do. So having a routine helps in that. Kasi kapag may routine ka, magiging systematic na siya, magiging automatic. You just do it. Part of really being able to having a good work ethic is just really just showing up, just doing it, and having a routine helps in being able to accomplish that. So yeah, with this parang may pwede kang halimbawa may block of time ka, pwede kang mag-get into the flow, like may books na into that like for example deep work o kaya yung flow na book, you can check them out. But yeah, you can just practice. Sa akin, sa experience ko, mga 1.5 hours or 2 hours na block of time na within that, yun lang yung focus ko. And then, yeah, minsan, napupunta ako sa state na, okay, I'm just coding and then being really focused, and then time is just passing by, and then it's a nice feeling. But you shouldn't stretch that too far, like, siguro 4 hours is going too far na. You'll get really tired after. But it depends. Like minsan kapag may deadline, but you shouldn't do that often. So try maybe at most 2 hours and then take a break. And then go back into it again. Kasi sa line of work natin, hindi natin napapansin kasi it's not physical. It's just mental. Pero alam mo yun, kasi kapag physical, mas pansin mo yung pagod mo . Like if you're doing it for 2 hours, alam mo mapapagod ka. Pero pag mental, kasi the fact na yung mind mo yung pagod and yung mind mo naging less aware na pagod ka kasi pagod ka nga in the first place, then yeah, mas mahirapan kang malaman kung kailangan na bang huminto muna or not. And then to avoid sort of like overheating your brain too much. So yun, and depende talaga sa case to case talaga, very individual. So you have to find what works for you. That's an important part, is being able to find what works for you kasi iba-iba yung what works for different people. And so you have to be willing to experiment, take notes kung ano yung work for you. And then assess if it works. So in my case, like I take notes like daily. I like to journal, and then on a weekly basis then meron din yun. Parang i-assess ko yung kung anong nangyari tama, anong nangyari mali, ano yung pwede kong improve, and then check kung ano yung pwede kong experiment na gawin. Ganun. So I use the room for that kind of notes taking, but yeah, you can use anything as long as you're able to use it well. Tapos focus on having a good well-being. Sometimes medyo nada-downplay to, like having a good sleep, good nutrition, meditation helps then for me. And exercise. yun nga, ito kasing line of work natin, parang ano siya, di ba? Very mental. So, hindi mo isipin na having good physical condition helps, but it really helps a lot having a good ano. Kasi you can only stretch it too much. Minsan, okay, kaya ko naman kaya ko naman na ganito. It's working so far, pero later on, malalaman mo na lang burnt out ka na. So, yun, watch out for that, for being burnt out. So, yeah, get maganda ma-balance mo yung yung activities mo. So, yeah, don't push it too far. Lagi kang walang sleep. And yun, kasi it's not sustainable. Yeah, sleep. It's really important. Very important. So sa Python programming specifically, I like to have like meron akong console, Python console na, for example dito, where I experiment stuff. For example, may snippet of code ako na gustong i-try, tapos i-run ko lang dito, or function, tapos dito ko siya i-iterate. Kasi wala, mas madaling mag-iterate using this na isolated. Lalo na kapag yung specific part na yun, hindi pa ako familiar. For example, may function kang gusto mong alamin. So, madali lang dito. Well, aside from dito din, pwede ba din siyang magamit. Ito, dash. Ito yung gamit kong easy access sa documentation. Offline documentation siya, so sobrang bilis. For example, meron kang module, either tools na gusto mong check. So, sobrang dali, diba? So, dito pwede kang mag-define ng function, tapos then you want to experiment with how it goes dito. Let's say, turn A plus B. Siyempre, it's very obvious. Pero, yeah, you can easily modify stuff here and then just run it. And then, madali din siyang i-benchmark, for example. Yan. Pwede mong ma-benchmark, at least informal benchmark, para makita kung ano yung speed niya. So madami kang pwedeng magawa dito sa console. And then having a good editor integration like VS Code, easy access to documentation, and then reading the source. Yeah, reading the Python source itself, not the C Python like the C code, but the Python standard library. Kapag halimbawa may stuff ka na, or kahit hindi standard library, mga libraries na ginagamit niyo in general, minsan like mga unknown stuff na hindi nyo, like may bug ba to or something, minsan ma-figure out, mas makakagate kayo ng insight kapag binasa nyo yung code mismo. And it being Python, it's relatively easy to read Python code. So sometimes I have the actual C Python, the whole C Python code in my locally, and then with that I can check out the standard library para makita ko kung ano yung actual implementation ng standard library. Kasi minsan may mga stuff na assume mo na ganito yung behavior niya pero hindi pala. So sa standard library, since it's standard library, normally walang issue, wala namang bugs usually doon. So it's more about having better understanding of how it works, na may mga stuff na hindi ka expected na ganito pala siya. And then nakatulong din siya na improving your Python knowledge, kasi makita mo yung actual source code na makakita ka ng idiom na ganito pala, baka better to, matutunan ko to na pwede kong gamitin next time kasi mas intuitive, mas idiomatic siya. So sometimes naman kapag gagamit ka ng library, lalo na kapag obscure na kuha mo lang sa tip, and then sometimes it's not as well maintained, so may bugs. So with that, you can actually just read the source and then see and trace, and maybe may bug pala sa library na ginagamit mo. So yeah, don't be afraid to read the source. And advantage naman ng Python is being able to easily read the source code. So yeah. explore, read books, newsletter, blogs, read other school, ito. And then study not just what you're working on. For example, computer architecture. Pwede mong kasi ang maganda din sa ang okay na na approach is being able to be familiar with the kasi as coders we work on certain level, like for example business logic yung focus natin usually with application programming, and then hindi na natin in-mind kung ano yung lower level, kung paano nag-work yung actual computers, yung networking, or it depends. Syempre, kapag nag-work ka sa networking code, you have to know networking. Pero most of, let's say, web programming lang, you don't need to know specifically what the HTTP protocol does, yung mga ganun stuff. But it's good to be able to have some knowledge then dun sa lower level nung level na currently win-work on mo, and yung higher level din. So kahit hindi mo alam yung details pero familiar ka lang, it really helps having that kind of intuition. So for example, pwede mo siguro check kung paano yung basics ng HTTP protocol, ng TCP, computer architecture, how computers work. And then also yung higher level in terms of architecture and design ng programs, business, like yung business side, communication, being able to communicate well with your coworkers, it's very important. Communication, especially written communication. Dahil ngayon naman, most of our communication is written, especially sa work from home setup. So, and then the little things like having a fast, if you can afford it, sometimes you're not always in a position to be able to do that. But if you can, then don't skimp on things like having a fast internet, fast machine, good screen, comfortable chair. Kasi nag-add up yan eh. Like, hindi mo alam kung ano yung namimiss mo na, kapag mabilis yung internet mo, hindi mo na kailangan yung latency ng stuff, manonotice mo eh. Like, okay pala to. Yung pagkakaroon ng fast machine din, kapag may latency yung bawat galaw mo, tapos na-unlock yun, then it really helps in terms of productivity. So yun lang yung presentation ko. And for my day-to-day, as I said, I'm a consultant, technical. I program pa din, but I also do higher level consulting. And then sa Noy.ph, ito yung current program namin, Abacoda 2021. So what we do is we teach programming via algorithmic programming contests. It's a weekly one. Actually, meron kanina. And it's easy. It's for beginners. And after that, meron live streaming, and we use the Python programming language for teaching concepts like computer science concepts via Python. So if you're interested, you can join. That's it for my presentation. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Marte. So we'll now proceed with the Q&A session. Ayan. So by the way pala, yung na-mention mo na good well-being, tinamaan ako dun masyado. So nung, di ba pag teens tayo, parang mas cool yung mga nagpupuyat, hindi natutulog, ganyan. So sabi nga nila, yung totoong adulting daw, kapag aware ka na mas cool yung inaalagaan mo yung well-being mo.
Totoo yan. Hindi ko lahat naman tayo dumaan dun eh. Ako dun, syempre.
Ngayon ang piniflex mo na yung parang, naka 8 glasses ako ng water today.
Nakatulog ka na Friday ng gabi na hindi ka na lumabas. So, gano'n.
Sobrang may ingit mo yung mga friends mo. Hala, nakatulog ka ng Friday.
Yes.
First, you have to learn it the hard way.
True.
Yeah.
Ayan.
Sobrang
So,
ano na, parang gold na yung sleep sa atin ngayon.
totoo.
Yeah.
Ayan. So, I
Yeah.
actually have a question. Pinakita mo earlier yung minimalist na setup mo, yung work area. Actually, hindi lang yung work area. Napansin ko din pati yung slides mo, yung browser mo, lahat talaga minimalist. So, ano pa nga, team puti, team kahoy. Ayan. So, ano yung naging journey and thought processes mo towards figuring out yung schedule, tools, and routines na nag-work sa'yo?
It's a long journey din. Like, yun, minsan, it's reflection dun sa mga ginawa mo, ganun. It's nice to sometimes just take a step back and, during breaks, for example, being out there in nature, minsan mapapa-reflect ka lang eh. Hindi mo man explicitly siya ginagawa. Like, hindi mo explicitly na mag-reflect ka, pero just traveling kasi wala ka namang ibang, hindi ka forced to work, hindi ka forced to, parang nabibigyan ng space yung mind mo to not just about thinking about work lang or yung mga problems na gusto mong solve. Kasi minsan kapag we're in the thick of it, parang nandun na tayo eh. Like, it's a cycle na ito lang gagawin. So, it's good to every now and then just take a break. It will be worth it. Like, kahit na sabihin mo, busy ako. So maganda na gawin mong, i-force mo yung sarili mo na mag-take a break na talagang gagawin mo to regardless kung anong nangyayari. So yun, with that, mapapaisip ka na lang ng mga changes na pwede mong gawin, and then it accumulates. Like, for example, ano bang magandang example? Yun yung tukol sa meditation, for example. I keep on, kasi diagnosed ako with ADHD. So, yun, I used to take meds before, pero the side effects, I don't like the side effects. So, it's a journey for me of finding out what works. And I keep reading about meditation, but I'm too like, baka hindi mag-work for me, ganun. But yeah, just try it out. Just try it. Don't judge until you try something. And then when I tried it, it's hindi pala siya new agey hocus pocus thing. Hindi pala siya cure talaga. But it's also just like exercise. Like physical exercise. I mean, it's like mental exercise na parang you do regularly, and then it helps you become more mindful. Become more calm, become more focused, become less yung mental chatter na laging nandyan. So it helps, and it's hindi nga siya instantaneous na gawin mo lang to, ganun na siya. Hindi siya ganun. Just like exercise, it takes some time to build that kind of muscle. So yun, experimentation, being willing to try things out and then figuring out what works for you. So yeah.
That's
Nagising
actually
ako
really-
dun
Oh.
prioritize well-being. Mind
Yeah,
and body. So,
It's actually really good kasi you mentioned earlier yung pagsaset ng routines. Isa yun dun sa iniisip ko na parang hindi ba pag masyadong marami na yung naset nating routine, parang nagiging monotonous na yung buhay. And then later on, ngayon nga minention mo na don't be afraid to try new things. So I guess talaga balance of trying out new things and also setting routines para na-manage natin mabuti yung oras natin.
Yeah. I used to hate routine. Like, I thought, yun nga, exactly. Like, parang, feeling ko kasi, like, yun, boring siya, ganun. And then, parang ma-restrict yung freedom mo kasi forced ka to do things. Pero when I finally took the jump to, okay, try ko magkaroon ng routine. Kahit yung basic routine lang, hindi yung sobrang to the point. Na-find ko, actually, kind of gives you a bit of more freedom pa nga eh. Kasi minsan, pag wala kang constraints, ang dami mong choices, ang dami mong options. More on, parang nawawalan ka mas nagkakaroon ka ng analysis paralysis dun sa choices mo. So parang less freedom pa nga siya actually kasi kung ano-ano lang gagawin mo dahil yung on a whim mo lang. So parang hindi siya deliberate choice kasi parang kung ano lang mo feel mo, yun gagawin mo. Pero with routine, it gives you some sort of constraints. Hindi ka pa rin naman talaga forced to do things eh. May choice ka pa din, may options ka pa din. Pero at least doon, mas narrow doon yung options mo kasi nga, yun, may constraints ka na and it helps to have that kind of constraints. Yun na, balance.
So, what do you
And
do
based
kapag
naman sa...
halimbawa na-break yung routine mo?
Mhm.
Kapag na-break yung routine ko, I just try to accept it.
Okay.
Sometimes minsan, ang hirap din eh. Like, minsan kapag na-break yung routine mo and then you kind of regret and you kind of go into that spiral na, okay, pangit yung routine ko. So, parang you medyo madadown ka doon. So, parang ano ka. Pero na-find ko na what works talaga forgiveness. Parang self-compassion na it's okay, ganun talaga. It takes time to learn that then kasi mahirap talaga like ang natural tendency mo is to blame yourself and then kapag blame mo yourself then ganun ulit hindi naman niya ma-fix yung stuff mas ma-worsen pa nga and then what finds is really just okay I made a mistake then let's just start from something again.
I think maganda din sa paggawa ng mga routines is nababawasan din yung yung mental stress. I mean yung burden sa head mo na kailangan pag-iisipan mo or gagawa ka pa ng decision, right? Kasi pag routine yun, automatic na yun. So mas may ka, I mean mas may energy ka para sa ibang stuff na mas kailangan mo pa isipin. So, and I think yung isa din sa paggawa din ng routine is more on talaga experimentation siya. Kasi hindi lahat ng routines is nag-work in combination. So, possible kasi na may mga gusto kong routines pero pag nag-compone na siya, hindi pala siya magandang combination kasi possible na parang mas stress ka na dun sa level ng routine na gusto mong ma-build. So, ito parang one at a time lang yung pag-build sa kanya. So,
yeah.
I have a question. When you learn, do you also fit that into your routine? So the reason why I ask is because it works well for me when I'm working, if I'm working in a routine, right? But my process now, it's automatic, blah, blah, blah. But when I learn, typically I desire that freedom, right? To deep dive into a rabbit hole, blah, 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 So for me, I kind of oscillate between like really intense routine type of work and medyo mas free and I want to learn new things and stuff. Parang back and forth personally, no? So how about you? Like how do you handle like learning in general?
Yeah, for me, hindi ko pa rin siya yan kapag learning medyo ganun din ako na free. Like I don't have much of a routine kasi nga sometimes I just let myself go and just try things out and yeah, it's something I'm still figuring out how to best approach it. Kasi minsan kapag gusto ko talaga matuto yung isang bagay, talagang medyo na-obsess ako minsan. So it's still it's still something I'm figuring out. Pero I guess what helps is being deliberate din niya. Yung pagkakaroon ko ng weekly routine na i-assess ko yung kung saan ko in-spend yung time ko using for example yung toggle nga, yung time tracker. Ginagamit ko siya to assess kung na-spend ko ba yung time ko well dito deliberate ba yung pag ko kasi minsan yun yan, nalulus lang ako. Hindi siya deliberate, parang gusto ko lang. So ginagawa ko lang kahit na let's say sort of productive siya kasi nga may natutunan ako pero important ba? Minsan iba kasi yung minsan may feeling lang na productive ka pero hindi naman talaga siya important pa at the time. So yeah, having that routine, weekly routine, aside from the daily routine, weekly routine to it helps me assess.
Okay, cool.
It's also a struggle for me. Yeah.
On the topic pala dun sa studying, how do you choose yung topics na gusto mong aralin? Kasi 'di ba parang halos lahat ng gusto nating aralin available na sa internet. Pero sobrang dami ng topics, minsan nakakalunod, hindi mo alam kung ano yung dapat mong piliin. So, paano ka pumipili ng aaralin mo?
Depends sa
Interesting.
depende sa need. Like halimbawa sa work, kung ano siya, kung ba may project ka and then you need to study this kasi ito yung requirement. Then yeah, yun very important yun kasi kailangan. So i-check mo yung topic surrounding it and yeah, check mo kung ano yung just know enough for that. Like you don't need to go into too much detail. Just know enough and then try using it. Like yun yung usual approach ko. I don't I try. Trying is practice. Practice talaga yung important. So just know enough about this technology and then try it. And then later on, saka ulit bumalik dun sa details niya. And then, minsan naman, yun nga, kung ano lang yung mag-interest sa'yo. Kasi minsan, mahirap din i-force yung sarili mo. Like for example, yun nga, may requirement ka na ganito. And then, hindi naman talaga siya ganun ka-interesting, then it can be tiring, parang pwedeng malose yung motivation mo. But at the same time, yun nga, depende sa requirement kasi minsan, ito talaga kailangan mong gawin. So, you just have to grind through it kasi yun yung required. And I guess important is to be deliberate about that choice and communicating with others dun sa choices mo din, like okay, ito yung approach ko and ito yung pwede kong makuha dito and yun, pero it's complicated it's case to case basis and just through experience mo mas magkakaroon ng intuition kung ano yung magandang approach. Pero deliberateness is key. Like maganda kung deliberate na choice nito and not just something you just parang random lang.
Yeah, in regards to learning, parang sabi mo din kanina is yung pagbabasa ng source code, right? For example, ng mga libraries. So, may question doon si Tony Valdez. So, dun sa mga bugs sa library, may share ka ba na story about that?
Wala akong alala ngayon pero usually wala akong maalalang particular na story ngayon. Pero yeah, I've gone through that na yung library mismo may issue. And then later on makita ko may actually sa GitHub issues makita mo pala na may bug pala talaga. So yun, minsan okay din na pumunta muna sa GitHub issues kasi makita mo na doon pala may bug na. O kaya search mo lang. Being able to search well pala is a skill din. So something you should cultivate. Anyway, yun, makita mo na known issue pala to. Pero sometimes obscure kasi, so parang ikaw palang unang maka-encounter. So yun. Pero off the top of my head, wala akong maalalang incident. But I know I've gone through some of those.
Yep, and I guess ang dami natin napag-usapan. I guess we have I think one last question. So, Alison.
And so this one is from Carl John Venus. Sabi niya, I want to hear more about NOI. Can you share more about this and what's the reason you expose young children to learning more about algorithm solving through CP competitions?
So yeah, National Olympiad Informatics, if you're familiar with other Olympiads, like for example, IMO and for example, Physics Olympiad or Chemistry Olympiad. So yun, International Olympiad in Informatics, yun yung international level na Olympiad for computer science or informatics. What it does is parang programming competitions na algorithmic in nature. So if you're not familiar with medyo iba kasi siya ibang klaseng competition siya. Like it's not like hackathon na meron kang gagawing program and then there will be judges. Dito very objective. Meron kang input and then meron kang output na expected, and then if your program doesn't produce it in time with the expected output, then it's wrong. So it's either wrong or right. Minsan may partial points din, minsan wala. So it's a different kind of programming then. Pero what's good in that is it helps cultivate nga yung computer science or computational thinking. So being able to think about computation na hindi siya kasi iba din yung software engineering sa computer science. Ito a bit more abstract. And okay siya kasi very interesting, very tawag doon. Basta may I guess it depends din sa kung anong nagbibigay sa ng enjoyment. Pero kami dun sa org na to, it's really fun for us being able to solve problems. Kasi parang siyang puzzle, di ba? Kapag nakasolve ka ng puzzle, it's really nice. And then it helps din dun sa industry, dun sa pag-code. Dahil in not so direct ways, kasi nga, kapag application programmer ka, you don't usually need to know about the exact algorithms that you use. Kasi provided na siya ng library, may iba ng tao na but it opens up that kind of possibility na pwedeng halimbawa, especially sa infosec, madami doon na di ba, na very algorithmic in nature, like yung mga algorithms na ginagamit for cryptography o kaya for yung encryption, decryption, yung pag-hash, yung mga ganun. And then yung pag-break ng systems. So having that kind of thinking, mga na-cultivate na thinking niya. So yun. So it also, depende din sa personality mo kung yun ba yung klase ng programming yung gusto mong gawin. And we find na madaming students, specifically high school students yung tina-target namin. Pero meron din kaming iba na may partnership with other orgs na ang target nila younger ones. Pero doon ang gamit namin either Scratch minsan kapag lower school, but high school Python usually gamit. Ano pa ba? Yun, masaya siya yun. Yun yung unang-unang masaya, and then parang side effect lang yung may matutunan ka. And we want others to be able to experience that then, especially kapag younger, habang bata pa.
Thank you for that advice. Actually, sa mga napag-usapan, parang pinaka-favorite ko doon is yung prioritizing pa rin yung well-being natin. Kasi di ba, more on ang work natin sa tech, then more on automations. So, kailangan is, nandun pa rin yung pagiging human sa part natin. So, yun. And and thank you so much for that. And do you have any announcements before we end our session? So,
I guess repeat ko lang yung inano ko kanina, like yung Abacoda. It's still ongoing, so just check out yung link, yung sa Noy.ph. Visit nyo na yung Noy.ph, makikita nyo dun yung announcement about Abacoda. So it's for beginners talaga, so don't be afraid. We really encourage, it's kahit hindi kayo high school, you can still join. Ang focus lang namin high school students, but anyone can join, even the live stream, the coaching, ganun. So yeah, it's you should try it. It helps, like especially dun sa like mga di ba, mga tawag interview questions, yung mga lead code, ganun. It helps dun sa sa career nyo, kahit na let's say hindi nyo nagagamit pa sa day-to-day industry work nyo, in terms of halimbawa mag-apply kayo for companies na yun yung preferred type of interviewing, lead code, algorithms, gano'n. So yun, career advancement din siya. And it's fun. Yun, yung sabi ko, it's fun.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
thank
thank you so much, Marte. Si Pauline nag-send ng link dun sa chat natin dito sa Zoom. Ayan. Alright. So again, thank you so much. Sobrang daming insights, sobrang daming learnings, and we're really, really happy to have you here sa session natin ngayon.
Salamat din. Very nice to be here.
Alright. So, Ryan.
Yeah. Before we end our session, any word from our sponsor, Swarm? Yeah.
Oh, I have to say this because my CEO is on the call. Joke lang. Joke lang. But yeah, I guess I'm just gonna share a bit about what Swarm is about. So thanks, Marte, for sharing all of that. I think you're currently doing like freelancing work, no? Tama ba?
Yes.
Right. So Swarm is an invite-only platform that helps builders like ourselves connect, ideate, and team up to work on projects that make an impact. Swarm users get access to high-value startup founder projects and a community of top-tier talent. So parang medyo masyadong formal yung definition. But like in general, we're just a freelancing platform that's community-based. We're not just a freelancing platform. We're more like a community, to be honest. It's parang we just kind of have projects at the same time because, a community of builders, like what better way, right, to find like, good builders, right? Or, great builders, right? So it's more of a for builders and by builders kind of thing. So I just have to plug a couple of things. So don't forget to sign up for our waitlist, which is at waitlist.swarm.work for exclusive access. We've recently just launched our projects marketplace. So yeah, we have one open project in our marketplace. So if you're a freelancer and you're looking for projects, don't miss out. And if you want to get fast-tracked as a freelancer on the platform, you can get Swarm verified. So we have this verified program where we vet people, where we vet freelancers, because we also vet our clients. So we don't just let anybody post projects on Swarm. So yeah. And then lastly, follow us on Twitter at swarmwork, and Facebook naman. On Facebook, we're Swarm now. Yun lang, guys. Thanks very much. I had fun today.
All right. So thank you, Aaron. Yung lahat ng mga links na sinabi niya, we also have dun sa chat natin. So you can check them out. Okay. So thank you so much, Swarm, for being our community partner, our sponsor. Okay. So before we end, so a while ago na-mention, di ba natin, na we'll have a fun challenge for the audience. So meron tayong coding challenge. Ayan. So Ryan, ano ba yung challenge natin?
Yes. So this challenge natin, ang pinaka-key concept niya is Python conditional statement. So if-else and the print function. So for the problem, actually we'll be sharing that dun sa YouTube or dun sa Zoom natin. I just post it. Okay, wait a second. So this one. And okay, so how to submit? Kasi di ba nasa HackerRank siya? So conditional statement, if-else. And para masabi siya, kailangan na siya ilagay sa GitHub. And then, i-submit natin siya through Twitter and just mention Python PH. Then, dun sa version ng Python na kailangan natin gamitin is version 3. So, Python 3. Okay? So, what's the price? The price will be, for the first two to submit the correct solution, we'll win tickets to PyCon APAC 2021 organized by Python Thailand.
Ayan. So, guys, submit na kayo. Ano lang, GitHub gist lang, tapos tag nyo lang yung Python PH sa Twitter. And by the way, yung organizer for this year ng PyCon APAC is Thailand. And marami tayong mga Filipino speakers. So kasama dyan si Narayan, di ba? Magtatalk din kayo ni Zorex.
Zorex. Yeah.
Okay. So si Zorex,
Yeah.
and then we have Matt and Ange and Bash. So yan, marami tayong mga Filipinos na magre-represent. So we highly encourage you to join dun sa coding challenge. So i-announce na lang namin sa social media platforms yung mga winners natin. So for those naman na hindi mag-join or nag-join pero hindi mananalo ng tickets and you still want to join PyCon APAC 2021, it's happening on November 20 to 21, 2 days yun. You can get your tickets at th.pycon.org. Ayan. So may option din sila na ticket with swags. So kung interested kayo, ayun.
Then I guess that's all, right? And thank you for that's all for we all have interview with our second guest again, and thank you so much, Marte. We'd also like to thank all the participants that we had today, and see you on the next episode of A Day in a Life with the work from home Pythonista. So
thank you. Thanks, Marte. Thanks, Mona, and thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.